Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. I want to talk today about routines. Not necessarily at home, although I do believe in the importance of routines at home, but at school. When you think about trying to get everything done that needs to get done within a school day, it's tough, and some days you're not able to do it. But over the years, I've come up with a system that when I stick to my routines, stuff gets done, and I end up leaving, and it maybe not right at 4 o'clock, but pretty darn close. Um, so I'd like to kind of talk you through that system. So I shoved this down in the bottom of my school bag and brought it home to share with you. I'm kind of embarrassed that it looks so awful, but it is worth its weight in gold. And I would highly recommend, if you are having a rough time getting everything accomplished in your day, for you to think differently about your school routines. The way that it's organized, at the bottom, I have a before school routine. I have a routine during my special. Every day we have 1 hour of plan time. I have a routine for lunch. I have a routine for recess. That's kind of a big fat bummer because sometimes I have double duty, which means I don't really have that break. But the days that I do, it's nice to have something that I know I need to go do. And then I have an after school routine. And then for each day of the week, I also have some items that I try to do. And I work on my weekly plan, which is right up at the top. And I'm going to actually walk through all of it. If you've had, especially if you had a rough day, or even if you're having a rough year and you've got kids with lots of needs, or you've got lots of emails from parents that need to be answered and calls that need to be made, it's so important that when you have those few minutes, you need to have a plan. And so if you have a written plan in place, that can really help. Now this is the one from last year, and so I have a few things that have just been written. As I've changed things around, I've just crossed stuff out and written it in, and I think that works for me. If you need it to look super pretty, then you could always retype if you needed to make changes throughout the year. When I come in the morning, before school, first I check my box and put away my lunch. You might think that's automatic, but the truth is, if I've got 10 things to do during the day, I might well forget to do that. So just having a moment to think, yes, I did that, and my lunch is not still in my school bag, and now it's going to be gross when it comes time for lunch. I make sure when I'm in the lounge that I have a drink for the day. If I haven't brought a drink with me, then I make sure that I grab some ice water, so I've got some available for myself on my desk. Then I turn on my computer, and I check my calendar for appointments. I have a calendar that is given to us by our principal, and if I have meetings and such with parents at school, that's where I put that information for sure. And so I just check it every day just to make sure I don't have anything coming up, just to make sure there are no changes in our schedules. I try to put those as well on my lesson plans, but this is just kind of that plan B, just in case I forgot. This makes sure that I'm ready for any meetings that are coming up. Then I make sure I'm ready for today. I have boxes in my classroom that I keep all of my supplies for each day. And I just do a quick run through and make sure there wasn't anything that I needed to grab. I make sure that materials are all the way ready for tomorrow. So I'll do a quick run through of the next day and make sure that I've gathered anything. If I needed to go make a copy that didn't get done previously, this would be a good time to go do that. If I changed my mind about something and need to get different materials ready, if we are, as we frequently do, sharing materials between second grade classrooms, is there something that I need to go grab from a teacher next door? And I just try to think through those things. It only takes a few minutes. And usually if I'm working my weekly plan, I have all my materials gathered. I just like to have them in order in a pile, so I'm ready to kind of move through the day, and I don't have a lot of time that I'm needing to go over and dig stuff out. Then I make sure that I'm ready for small group for tomorrow. And this coming up year, I'm needing to make sure I'm ready for math groups, but typically those are my guided reading groups. And I usually have about between 3 and 4 every day. And I just make sure that there weren't any materials that needed to be gathered. I make sure that my lesson plans are ready to go. Some of those lesson plans I have typed up and ready. Others, depending on the abilities of the students, if I have a kiddo that's really high or really struggling as a reader, those might not be materials that I necessarily use every year. And so those plans may not be typed up. And therefore I would have kind of an overview sheet where I could jot down what I'm doing with students during those particular groups. But I do like to go through and make sure I've got everything ready for the small groups for the next day. And then and only then do I get on my computer. So I turned on my computer when I first entered my classroom, and then I just kind of let it sit there. And then I check my email, and I pull up anything electronic that I'm going to need for that first lesson. So at the beginning of the year, we were doing math. And so I would pull up our math website so that it was ready to go. And then kind of during the year, because of some student needs, we needed to swap things around, and our schedule changed, and I started doing reading. And so then I would pull up the reading textbook online, or anything that needs to be shown to kids as we went through the reading lesson for that day. Email can suck you dry, and so I try very hard to answer email within 24 hours, but and I do try to answer anything that I've gotten the night before. All my email shows up on my phone, so typically if there's a parent email, I'm already aware, and I've either already responded if it was a quick response, or I've kind of been thinking about how I'm going to respond to that particular parent. Or perhaps I've needed to email someone else and get additional information for them, and so I might just be waiting on those. So a lot of my email, it's just kind of a time sucker. And so depending on what time I got there at school that day, that's how much time I'm going to have left before kids walk in the room. And I do try to, for sure, check it once right before, just in case I have parents that email and say their kid's going to be sick or whatever. But email is challenging because people want responses in a timely manner. And so a friend of mine challenged me to never have more than like one, you need to be able to see all of your emails. So like one page of emails there, and I really try to keep it down to like 12. If I have more than 12 emails that are sitting there, then I have things I need to be doing. At some point in the day, I'm going to have specials, meaning PE and music, or the kids will go to art, that kind of thing. And it's during that time that I go back into my email and I check that very quickly. Parents sometimes email during the day, and if I've been teaching all morning, then had lunch, then it's time for specials, I may not have seen that. So I do check back in there. And then one thing I had to add in the middle of the year last year was check my clutter. I had several parent emails that went to that clutter mailbox. So just once a day, I check it, and then I delete all of the emails that are in clutter. And then after that, the only thing I have specific to specials is checking my weekly plan. And that's this up here that I'll go over here in just a second. At some point in the day, I'm going to have lunch. And so when I'm at lunch, I'm going to eat, but I'm also going to make sure I've got a drink. So either I re-up the ice water I had in the morning, or I snag a soda, whatever. But I need something on my desk for the afternoon. And then I also check my mailbox. In the staff lounge, there's a mailbox system where everybody has one, and sometimes things are put in that mailbox for me that I need to either pass out to students, or I need to fill something out or do something with. So I just check that for sure once a day here. I also check it when I first come in. So I do check it when I come in here, and then I'll check here again. Then at some point in the day, there's probably going to be a recess. Now, some days I don't have this time, but for the most part, I do. So during recess time, I take a moment and clear off my desk of anything that's kind of gotten in the way. I do check my email again if I have time, and I have on here go to the bathroom, and it's a sad state of affairs that there are days that I'll kind of have to go to the bathroom, but I'm really not able to leave my classroom. And so, fly, sorry about that. So because of that, I really do, it really is important for it to be on here just to remind myself that this is a great time to use the bathroom if I need to. And then finally, after school, the kids are gone, or most are gone and there are just a couple in the room waiting for a bus, that kind of thing. I make sure I change my schedule so it's ready for the next day. I change the date on the chalkboard. I change the objectives and make sure they're ready for the next day, and I move any movement in the calendar that needs to happens. I make sure that there's morning work for the next day. I make sure I've written on the board what I expect kids to do when they first come in, and that I have any paperwork that they'll need sitting out on their desks for the following day. I check hot spots, and I think that's a Fly Lady thing. Those are those places in our home, or in this case in my classroom, that things just pile up. And for me, that's typically my desk and my back reading table. And then I have another little table right by the door. And those are areas that get really messy really fast. And so if I just spend a couple minutes making sure things get put away, then I walk into a nice clean room, which I love. Finally, I do a quick 5-minute cleanup, and that can kind of be part of the same some days. Other days, it takes me a while to clean up hot spots, and then I kind of have to look around. I do have students responsible for cleaning different things up, and I try to help them help me, but there are days where time just gets away from us, and we put learning first, and then, the cleaning sometimes is second. And so there are times where I have more to clean up than others. And then finally, I check my email one more time, and I turn off my computer. I used to have to make sure that the iPads were plugged in, but I gave that job to kids, and so I don't have to do that anymore, so that got crossed out.